A lot of people are wondering who is going to be the next Supreme Court justice to take over for retiring Justice Anthony Kennedy. It's really anyone's guess who it'll be, but the number of potentials is getting reduced. Let's talk more about that for today's In Depth. All right, Terri Day with Barry University joining us once again. Thanks for coming in as always.
Thank you for having me.
Your voice is back. We saw you the last time, and we had some laryngitis, but we're glad to have you back. And,
Thank you. I have a voice.
There
yes.
you go. Yeah, we've forgotten about that. So, Justice Anthony Kennedy, retirement. He's in his early 80s, so not a big surprise. But what does this mean?
Oh, this is huge, and I'm sure you can see everybody talking about this. Is what some people are talking about is a constitutional crisis. I don't think it's that particularly, but it gives President Trump a second pick, obviously, to put on the Supreme Court.
And his second pick, it's probably going to be a more conservative.
It will be somebody in the ilk of Justice Gorsuch, and Justice Gorsuch is much more conservative in terms even than Justice Kennedy.
What's this going to do? I mean, because Justice Kennedy was the swing vote.
Yes.
So what do you think the future of that's going to be?
Well, if everybody's prediction that President Trump is going to pick a nominee from the list that he has actually published. So there's a list that he's published, even when he was a candidate. He updated that list in November, so there's some new members that are possible picks, but they're all fairly conservative justices, or judges, meaning that they will interpret the Constitution according to the originalist view. So Chief Justice Roberts probably will be more moderate than a new pick on the Supreme Court justice. So, many of the cases, especially the controversial cases, are 5-4 decisions. Mm-hmm. It means somebody has to be, in the group of 5.
Right.
And it's interesting because the swing vote has a lot more power to sort of shape the decision, if you will. So if Chief Justice Roberts goes with the liberal bloc, chances are the opinion will be less liberal than if you had a more liberal justice. It's bringing the liberal bloc closer to the center.
We're talking with Terri Day with Barry University, obviously, about the retirement of Supreme Court Justice Anthony Kennedy. And while this is not a surprise, it is a pretty big deal. And you were wondering, we were talking a little bit about what the future of Roe v. Wade.
Yeah, well, that is really the big issue here, and that's going to be a major fight. President Trump promised his base when he was campaigning that he would pick justices that would overturn Roe versus Wade. And, that can a new constellation of justices overturn Roe versus Wade? Yes. My hope is, and nobody has a crystal ball, okay?
Right.
My hope is that Chief Justice Roberts will be more moderate, and instead of one fell swoop, like one case that just completely overturns Roe versus Wade, that it is settled law, but what people don't realize is that the restrictions that states can pass that affect the woman's right to get an abortion are judged under a very difficult standard, meaning difficult to overcome. So it's an undue burden standard. So all this government has to show is that any restriction doesn't have an undue burden or isn't put in place for the purpose of putting obstacles in a woman's right to get an abortion. There was a recent case that was 2 years ago where Justice Kennedy was part of the liberal bloc. It was before Justice Gorsuch got on the court, and when Justice Scalia was gone. And Justice Kennedy voted with the majority, and it was about some Texas regulations that would literally close most of the abortion clinics. It required all kinds of regulations that facilities had to basically be like hospitals.
Right.
And the court said, look, there's no relationship to the state's interest in the health of the woman in passing these regulations. So it's clearly for the purpose and the intent to just put obstacles in a woman's path to get an abortion.
As always, I wish we had more time. Our time is up. Time flies when we're having
sorry,
fun. No, that's okay.
I could go on. I'm a constitutional law professor.
But we have you in on a regular basis, so we want you to come back again. But we always appreciate your visits. Thanks so much, Terri.
Thank
Good to see you. Terri Day
Okay.
with Barry University. Thank you.